thought imaginable, more than is available in any library in the world by itself, right? The web is that much, has that much functionality and information, and now that you are more capable and your skills are enhanced to navigate that, your lives open up in an entirely different way, as do your perspectives. I'm glad you're in the clapping moves. I want to start really briefly by just again reiterating how much everyone here appreciates the accomplishment that you have achieved in getting through this program, confronting fears, overcoming whatever your story coming in was, and being able to accomplish this great graduation today. And you're going to be richly rewarded with the kinds of tools that you're going to use. So I want to give yourself a hand. So again, my name is Robin Rogers, and I represent County Supervisor John Gioia, who was an early advocate of this program, this center, and the general philosophy of how to improve the prospects of folks who have been left behind in our economy previously, maybe have been previously incarcerated, had other challenges, and the like. The investment into you, into people in our community, Supervisor Gioia believes, and I certainly agree, is the best way to enhance our community, improve public safety, and improve educational outcomes and work employment outcomes for the residents of our community. I also want to mention it was just less than a year ago, in fact, that we opened this center. And you see how beautiful it is. You've spent time here, you've worked on your skills here, you've forged relationships here that are all going to be useful moving forward. And I speak for, I know for everyone in the room who represents a public agency, you can count on us moving forward. If you need anything, any kind of assistance, we think of us as partners, think of us as their resources. They're going to help you on your journey. So it was less than a year ago that we opened this place, and Supervisor Gioia gave an initial, he was one of the speakers who kind of opened it up. We had a big ceremony outside, the street was blocked off, the city was very helpful, and managing that whole scenario was very well choreographed, and it was a fantastic event. And I wanted to share with you a quote at that time. Supervisor Gioia, who, like I mentioned before, I mean, it's all about collective action, it's about representing and understanding the accomplishments of folks who have been misaligned or mistreated or left behind before, and incorporating all that talent and energy into our community moving forward. Restorative principles and public investment in the kinds of reentry programs that we have now. And Supervisor Gioia at the time, he said, it stuck with me, and I had to write it down also. He said, it says something about our community when we give as much respect to people who were incarcerated as to every member of our community, right? It's about removing the stigma. It's about not retribution, but restoration. Not about punishment, but partnership. And that's a philosophical shift that I think that is obvious to a lot of us in the room here, but it's something that wasn't really thought of maybe 10 or 20 years ago by a lot more people. So there's a shift in our community. I think that we're all better for it. Now, talking just a little bit about what you've gained here is really about technology and those skills. I mentioned before the richness and the density and the vastness of the information that's available on the web, and how that holds such promise and such ability to make our systems work better together and make people have better opportunities and be able to explore and understand all of their opportunities and be able to really live their lives in a richer way. But those benefits aren't really there for people who are shut out of that technology, who don't have the support to learn how to understand it and wield that power. So that's what LEAP, Dr. Sherry and Dr. Ellen and many others, they understand, and they put together this high-level curriculum. Supervisor Gioia and I have seen it ourselves, and you've been exposed to it, you've benefited from it, and you're different people, I'm sure, in many ways than you were 10 weeks or 10 hours ago after all of that curriculum. So it's really fantastic that you've been there. Now that you have those skills, I also want to talk just very briefly, I want to talk about fear in the past and history. Because this is something that's affected me many times in my life, and I'm sure everyone in the room to some degree. We have fears all the time, it's natural, right? Fears of who we are and whether we're able to do something, right? Fears of insufficiency or insecurity, challenges ahead, and sometimes we hamstring ourselves in our ability to meet those challenges by doubting ourselves early on. And I think the antidote to that is these kinds of successes, these kinds of skill buildings. And so I want you to understand, having just done it, this is a huge pay forward, right? This was something that you may have thought you couldn't do. You may have thought you would never learn these kinds of skills or be this fluent in your use of high-level technology. And now you are, because you believed in yourself and you had the support and the partnerships and you move forward. And look where you are now. There's another kind of fear that kind of looms over us a lot of times. It's loomed over me many times, I know. And that's the fear of the past, the fear of time, right? This idea that, oh, I can't change, because it's too late now, or something has happened. These miscues of the past are holding me back. We all have histories. We all have pasts. We've all had challenges. We've all overcome them. But we can always, it doesn't need to dictate who we become. We can always be a different person, a better person, a more powerful person tomorrow. And to fundamentally understand those two elements of fear are really important, because we have to keep reminding ourselves, because it's so natural for those doubts to creep in, and those doubts sometimes, they hamper our abilities to become who we want to be. So I'll get ready to wrap, and I want to also share a couple other quotes that I really like a lot. And one of them is from Malcolm X, who is a kind of personal hero of mine. I'm sure many others in the room have read and understand and regard him as a champion for civil rights, of course, and a hero in many ways. One of the great things about Malcolm X also is he was someone who had so many setbacks early in life. And in many ways, he kind of discovered himself late in life. Right? This is someone who spent a long time in prison, in his 20s and in his 30s. And the person that he became was radically different than who he had become as an adult man, again, late in life. And just through will and education and support from people who loved him and wanted to be around him, organizations, he completely transformed himself into one of the greatest figures of the 20th century. And he said, adversity, there's nothing greater, there's nothing better than adversity. He'd learned it all too well himself. He said that nothing teaches us how to respond and how to become better than the adversity that we've already had. That's a paraphrase, it's not an exact quote. He said it much more eloquently, but the point is there, right? Every time we get knocked down, we learn how better to get up, as long as we take that power and we move forward with it. He also says something else that's a lot shorter, a lot easier to remember. He said, the future belongs to those who educate themselves today. And that's what you guys are doing now. That's what we all kind of aspire to do. And we are all, again, together in this. Not only do you have the skills, but you have the relationships. You're in this wonderful building, this building that's much more than just concrete and steel and wood. It represents an investment by the county, by the city, and by many other agencies that have all come together and said yes. Not investing in more bars, more walls, more guards, investing in solutions for folks as they reintegrate back into society. That is a powerful statement in and of itself, right? The statement of the dollars that go into this beautiful facility that you can call home, and many of us already do. So Malcolm said that the future belongs to those who educate themselves for it today. The future, having educated yourselves here and will continue to educate yourselves, the future is yours.
Thank you.